Hello, I'm Alistair Connor and this is my professional portfolio design for my negotiated project. So to start things off, I wanted to make sure I had a clear understanding on how I was going to tackle this project. So I created a project management board. Basically, I was able to section off each key element of this assignment, such as the research, the designs, towards the layout and the development, to finally the upload, the presentation, which is what this is. Throughout the research, I was able to research what target audience it was I was going to be getting. I was able to look at some pre-existing competitors. I could define the problem statement, create some user personas, just get a real clear understanding on what it was I was going to do throughout the stages later on. The designs, I was making early logo design. I was picking out my colors, I was picking out my type, basically anything early design, sketches, all of that. That was the next stage. And then the layout, that would be wireframing if I was going to do a bit of UI understanding, UI UX, further logo design, and then just starting to use the colors I picked and the types I also picked. The development was actually then creating the brand, making adverts for it, marketing, the stuff which you'll see later on, and then the upload was this, the slides, the project. So what it is I'm doing is I was creating a cinema brand that aims to invite people back to cinemas. I feel like there's been a rapid popularity of streaming platforms and not many people go to cinemas anymore, so I wanted to create a brand that would maybe host more than just coming in to watch a movie, maybe create events, make some venues and anything like that. Just a cinema brand that invites people back to watch a movie there. The problem was the streaming services being more popular and that people would rather pay monthly subscriptions to wait a bit longer instead of just paying a bit more to go watch it at the cinema. So what was the strategy? I researched some pre-existing competitors such as Cineworld, Odeon and Vue. Those are the three big cinema brands around us. So I thought if I could get enough information out of them, hopefully I could build off of that. I made a couple key tone of voices, just keywords that could maybe explain what my brand is, that it's welcoming, hopefully it be unique, it's inviting, and it's trendy, it's up to date. So here are the brand guidelines. Believe it or not, I changed the name of mine. As you can see, I changed the logo multiple times because it just wasn't working for me. The first ones was the Real Cinema, and the logo was just far too complex. If you were to scale it up and down, it just wouldn't work. And I kept exploring with that name, and I just couldn't find anything really like that would stand out. And then I later found out that there was already a cinema brand called Real Cinema, and it's quite local to where we are, so I thought I'd change the name to Spotlight Cinema, which is what we have now. The colour, I settled on three primary colours, a yellow, a white and a dark grey. Yellows are good because they're seen as bright, open colours, they're energetic, they're very approachable and they're very cheerful. It's high visibility in colour, it grabs attention, it's not threatening like red, and it's all out, it's nice to be around. The grey, I picked grey over black because I wanted to make a modern cinema brand. I feel like a darker grey is more modern than just a black. It's more sleek, and if you were to use black, it would just make everything else kind of look smaller, whilst with the grey, hopefully it keeps it all the same. I did a bit of color experimentation with my logo. I was able to use those three colors and adapt it, changing the background, because maybe not I could use that later on in my brand, I suppose. So then there was the type. The type I chose was a font called Obviously. It's a relatively new sans serif font created by James Edmondson back in 2019. The font was sourced from Adobe Fonts on the Creative Cloud, that's where I got this one from, and it nearly features 100 styles. It features 96 styles that range from compressed all the way to extended fonts, and also narrow fonts to bold and high impact fonts. So I thought a font like this would be perfect since I'm wanting to make a modern cinema brand. The primary font I used was the Obviously semi-bold. Here's an example of how the lettering looks with that. And the secondary font I used was the condensed semi-bold. Both of those fonts were used within my logo design. So the brand. This is my final logo with its colours. I used the dark grey, which would be as the background, as that's kind of associated to cinema rooms, I think. And the yellow as the bright, energetic, attention-grabbing spotlight that shines down onto the white text, which is clear and readable for the audience. I wanted to make a spotlight incorporated into this logo because I feel like that directly connects to cinema culture, where spotlights and projectors are kind of an iconic element. So I thought that would work really well. I wanted to make sure I had a clear understanding on what ClearSpace was. This keeps the logo easy to read, it makes the logo more noticeable, and it keeps the brand looking professional. It can also protect the spotlight shape and improve flexibility across my design. So a few of the things I ended up making was these little membership cards. I found out that Cineworld have their own little members subscriptions, and I thought it would be great if I could maybe create something like that. And I wanted to keep my design of the logo onto the card to just keep consistency through all of the design. And I used the same triangular shape and the same lettering and how it is, but I changed it from Spotlight Cinemas to Infinite Movies, which would mean you would get infinite movies, however many you wanted to watch, if you were to subscribe with Spotlight Cinemas. I also created a little vector of a cinema ticket. It's just a little understanding of if you were to maybe get a cinema ticket, this is what it would look like. It would present the logo, it present the name of the movie you'd go watch, the date, the time, your screen, your seat, all of your standard cinema assets, I think. I created an advertisement poster / billboard, which would be advertising the infinite movies I mentioned earlier. Now that I look at it, there was probably a bit too much typography in it. I tried to add in the graphic elements from the Scream 7. I made that in Adobe Illustrator. I didn't just want a typography poster because that can be quite off-putting. Not many people would want to read all of that, but the way I designed it, I used bolder fonts to make certain parts stand out. The large bold font for the headline, the medium for supporting information, and the smaller text for fine details. I created a mock-up of a website design. This is what it would kind of look like. Once you open the website, it would present your standard cinemas, movies, memberships, offers and deals. You could pick your location, you could sign in, you could sign up, and it would just show the top movie which is currently trending. I picked Scream 7 because it's just recently come out. Here's my referencing for all of the assets I've used. And that's everything. Thank you for listening. That's my negotiated project.